Dolphins fans, you should be fired up because after an absolute brutal joint practice on Wednesday with the Detroit Lions, Miami bounced back in a major way and dominated most of the second joint practice on Thursday morning. We are going to go hand in hand and look at the biggest takeaways, who stood out, who didn't, but I do feel pretty good about where we stand following this joint practice. And we'll start by looking at some reports from Dolphins opposites here with the Lions beat reporters, because yesterday we showed their tweets and they were very critical of Miami. Well, today, Colton Pouncey talked about how much better the Dolphins performed, especially in the secondary, as well as how they performed in the first 7-on-7. Another person who was critical of Miami, Mike Payton, said Dolphins must have taken yesterday personally. They were killing in red zone 7-on-7 drills. And yeah, it's 7-on-7 and not 11-on-11, but considering how poor Miami looked yesterday, it is such a positive sign that this Dolphins team took it personally, came back with a more focused effort to put their best foot forward, despite not having some players that are key players available to them once again. With both sides complimenting the Dolphins' performance, Lions reporters, Dolphins reporters, I feel a little bit at ease compared to yesterday. I know we shouldn't look too much into joint practices, but, how bad it was had me a little bit nervous. And if you want more updates on the Miami Dolphins, whether it's news, highlight clips, or just overall reports, my social media is the best way to get that. At Nic_Rohloff is my handle. 18 followers away from 2,200. I'm following back the first 5 people who follow me from today's show, so go follow me right now. Before we get into some takeaways, I do want to start here because a lot of the talk around Miami the last 24 hours is the health of Chop Robinson, who left yesterday's joint practice on a car. Well, he actually practiced today, so that is an unbelievable good sign. Was taken out yesterday more as a precaution. That is what Mike McDaniel said to reporters before the second joint practice today. He got hit in the ribs, and they just wanted to make sure it wasn't a fractured or broken rib of any kind. So the fact that he was out there in one-on-ones and a little bit of team activities as well tells us that this is an injury that isn't scary. He's probably not going to play in the preseason game on Saturday, but there is absolutely no concern for him moving forward, and hopefully there isn't another injury scare around Chop because he's one of the most fun players that we get to watch this season and one of the players that we have looking on the upward trajectory of this organization. But there were other players that missed practice today, not named Chop Robinson. Here were the 10 players that were not practicing for Miami. Now, most of these players have been consistent. Everybody on the right side of your screen has been out for at least a week. Jalen Phillips has not been participating. Mo Kamara remains out of practice. Tyreek Hill remains out of practice, but the 2 new additions were Devon Achane, our RB1, and our best defensive player whole in Zach Sealer. Now, it sounds like Zach Sealer not practicing today was more of a veteran's rest day. He was there with the team in a hat, just kind of watching, hanging out. Devon Achane was not spotted at all. I hope that is just a rest day. There was no indication that Achane got banged up during yesterday's practice. This is obviously one of the most important players on this Dolphins offense and team, so hopefully nothing serious there. I'm not looking into it at all. Just probably missed a practice for Miami. But let's get into some of the reports now from the joint practice, because Tua Tagovailoa was sharp early on, whether it came to throwing to his wide receivers in 1v1 drills or early 7v7 drills. Tua found Jaylen Waddle, Eric Ezukama, early touchdowns in Miami. You saw the reports that we shared on screen from Lions reporters, about how Miami was killing it in 7-on-7. Zach Wilson had a pretty big bounce back day as well after a lot of turnovers yesterday. He was more sharp in red zone work. So Miami clearly was able to find the stride they were looking for after a pretty down day yesterday. Jaylen Waddle being back was also a difference maker. Him and Tyreek did not participate in full. Tyreek's been out for the past week or so. Waddle really only did a couple plays yesterday, was way more involved today, and was flashing, getting open in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. His presence for the Miami Dolphins just opens up other wide receivers because of how his speed really just impacts the opposing defense and how they have to play this Dolphins offense, which is why when Tyreek and Jaylen on the football field together, over the middle and intermediate routes will be more open because those two just put so much pressure vertically down the field. And that would give Dee Eskridge some opportunities to really flash. And he had an unbelievable day today. Dee Eskridge has been putting together one good training camp, folks. He was on the practice squad last season. He was brought back, and he continues to show us a lot of good things. He was absolutely awesome in today's joint practice, and we saw him make some plays in joint practice last week against Chicago and in the preseason game as well. He had a 30-yard catch up the middle on a seam route from Tua. He had a 20-yard post from Tua. He mossed Brian Branch. Now, I'll be honest, the reports are that it's either Brian Branch or DJ Reed. There is no clear answer on what corner for Detroit actually got mossed by Dee Eskridge. But either way, those are two really solid defensive backs. Isaiah Smalls had the report, play of the day alert. Dee Eskridge went upstairs to grab a touchdown over Brian Branch. I'm talking straight moss, buddy. A couple people said it was DJ Reed. Either way, incredible day. Eskridge continues to show out. And if you're going to be frank here, there is no doubt about it. Unless he gets injured, you can pencil Dee Eskridge on your Dolphins 53-man roster. Like I mentioned, was on the P squad for most of last season, got activated for a handful of games late in the year, has a lot of special teams value as a punt returner and kickoff returner behind Malik Washington. So to me, this is a player that just continues to go up, up, up in terms of the depth chart, in terms of my confidence in him. And this is a guy that I think will probably be your wide receiver 5 without question this year for Miami. So I want to show Dee Eskridge some love. Spam his jersey number 82, down in the comments section. He's been making plays. Smaller body receiver for sure, but he's been playing good. So I'm going to ride the hype train as long as it continues, and so should you. Spam those 82s in the comments. Speaking of Malik Washington, he had a pretty solid day too, and we watched him get featured so heavily in the first drive for the Dolphins offense on last Sunday with the Chicago Bears preseason game. He had a 15-yard touchdown late in 11-on-11 drills from a Tua Tagovailoa pass. He will just continue to get more opportunities. I'll harp on this point to such a large degree. When Tyreek and Jaylen Waddle are both out there, there is just so much attention given to those two where you will have players like Devon Achane, like Malik Washington, get one-on-one in the slot, one-on-one with a linebacker over the middle of the field at times. And with those two guys being so shifty, agile, and quick, those two are in line for potentially massive years with Tua being so consistent and accurate over the middle of the field. So Malik Washington, I'm expecting a big year for him, and he had a pretty solid day. Continued success for the Dolphins O-line in the run blocking game. Pass blocking game remains to be a little bit of an issue. Aiden Hutchinson continued to really just create havoc for this Dolphins offense at times today, and he certainly did it yesterday as well. But the strength of this O-line is its ability to run block. So we'll see how they perform when the regular season rolls around. It's hard to project. I like what I'm hearing in the Dolphins' run game. Paul and Savvy and I on the left side have just been moving people. We know James Daniels and Aaron Brewer have been solid. And Austin Jackson hasn't been practicing, so it's not the fully starting 5-0 line that we expect. But the run blocking has just been so much better than the pass blocking. And I wanted to share this interesting play from Patrick Paul, who has just put together a really good camp in his second year out of Houston. Apparently, he threw a DB to the ground on an HN run. I don't know if that was supposed to be Jalen Wright, or maybe I just missed because they did say HN wasn't practicing today. So maybe they meant to say Jalen Wright there, or maybe HN returned to practice and I missed it. But either way, apparently he moved. Rakia Sin was the DB that got shoved to the ground in open space. He got up and threw a punch at Patrick Paul. And good on Pete Paul, man. Not retaliating, letting it happen. And in the real game would be another 15 yards for the Miami Dolphins offense. Love it. Patrick Paul continues to put together a solid camp. And if you want solid, let me tell you about Mando, the whole body deodorant that I trust to make sure I'm always smelling right, whether I'm on the go, traveling, or just doing my day-to-day work. And I am traveling nonstop. It's hard to pack. You overpack, underpack, forget essentials. It's a disaster. That's why I started packing smarter with Mando. The Mando 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar is huge. shampoo, face wash, body wash, and deodorant all in one bar. But you can't forget about the Mando Sweat Control Deodorant Stick either, because it stops odor before it starts. Mando holds up even in the heat, even on the move. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And one of my favorite items that I consistently bring around are the deodorant wipes. I don't go anywhere without them. I tell you this all the time. Whether I am traveling, whether I'm running errands, I go golfing, I work out. If I am out in public and I feel even in the slightest that I'm getting a little bit smelly, the deodorant wipes make sure I'm all good to go for the rest of the day. One of my favorite things they have. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code CHAT. Use code CHAT at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits. Smell great doing it. Links in the description and comments of today's show. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball now, because Miami certainly had a better day. And yesterday, it was as bad as it could have been. The secondary was getting torched by Amon-Ra St. Brown almost every single play. Jameson Williams had some big plays, and Jared Goff was clicking on all cylinders. Now, this is not me saying that the Dolphins defense won the day. I would still say the Lions offense got the better of the Miami defense, but it just was much more competitive than it was yesterday because it was ugly. There were still some rough spots, but at least there was improvements. And a couple players that I do want to highlight that really stood out to me from today's joint practice. The former Detroit Lion, Ifeatu Melifonwu, who actually got into a little bit of a scrap with Jameson Williams in the last play of practice yesterday, bounced back in a major way, forced a couple PBUs in 1v1s, 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s. And in the final play of practice for the Dolphins defense, each team did a gotta-have-it final play of the drive. You get one play, one drive, who outperforms? Well, the Dolphins defense won that drive. Goff has 2 seconds, time for a throw to the end zone, and Melifonwu broke it up to give the Dolphins defense a uplifting end to their day. He also, like I mentioned, had a couple good PBUs. So Melifonwu is continuing to show me better and better things. A player Miami signed in free agency to be one of their top 3 safeties. And with Ashton Davis banged up, the starting safety duo week 1 for this team is going to be Minkah Fitzpatrick and Ifeatu Melifonwu, with Elijah Campbell liking to be that safety number 3. And based off what I've seen in training camp with Dolphins going against Dolphins and Dolphins versus Bears, Dolphins versus Lions, I feel pretty solid about Melifonwu and Fitzpatrick on the back end. When I have my concerns in the secondary, it still is going to be pointed at this cornerback room, which had struggled again today as they did yesterday, which we'll get to here in just one second. But I also want to make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because we are continuing to bring you daily Dolphins coverage, as well as 2 videos every day for the most part. Join the channel and subscribe, because we're not going anywhere. We'll be live on Saturday for the Dolphins-Lions preseason game as well. Let's segue into that secondary now, specifically with the cornerback room. And there is no doubt about who the CB1 is for this football team. It's Storm Duck. Now, is that an issue? Absolutely. But based off what I've seen from every corner in the first 3 weeks of training camp, in the joint practices, in the preseason, Storm Duck is without a question this CB1. It's stamped. He is your boundary corner number 1. Would I want to add another one? Absolutely. But based off what Miami has, he is going to be your CB1. So now I want to look at some other corners, stock up, stock down. And this is merely looking at what happened on Wednesday compared to today. Stock up, Jack Jones. He was terrible on Wednesday, much better on Thursday, having a couple nice PBUs and showing his talent. Kendall Sheffield got torched by Jameson Williams on a big play and struggled a bit today. Cornell Armstrong had a really rough day as well today. So when you're talking about some corners, Cornell Armstrong and Sheffield down, Jack Jones up. And I do want to quickly talk about Jack Jones at length a little bit more. This is not me saying that he had a really good week in Detroit. No, I would still say his week was very, very bad. But when you look at how bad it was yesterday, you feel a little bit better how he bounced back from Wednesday to Thursday. I do still think Jack Jones has a real shot at being the second boundary starting corner to Storm Duck, especially when you factor in Sheffield having a little bit of a tough 2-day stretch here in Detroit. It just further hones into the point where I think Miami should still be looking to sign a veteran corner that can start on the outside, whether it's Asante Samuel Jr., Stephon Gilmore, or Rasul Douglas. But let me know your thoughts. Do you feel better about the Miami defense following the 2 joint practices? Little rough Wednesday. I say a little a lot. Much better today. Type Y if you feel better. Type N if you do not. Final thing I'll say about the defense here. Linebackers continue to be a great strength for this team. Do I think the defensive line will be this strength of this defense this year? I do, because Zach Sealer, Kenneth Grant, Chop, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, when fully healthy, is going to be awesome. But the 4 linebackers that you have, Jordan Brooks, Willie Gay, KJ Brett, Tyrell Dodson, have just been phenomenal all camp long, and they continue to showcase their strengths in camp again. I mean, Jordan Brooks is looking like the MVP of this defense to this point. He is going to be in line for such a massive season in the middle of this defense. Pro Bowl and All-Pro could be on the table for Jordan Brooks. And we know Willie Gay Jr. has been phenomenal all camp long as well. I think he should start instead of Tyrell Dodson, who has been probably the most inconsistent linebacker that we've had in training camp to this point, but still would be fine with him starting week 1. And the last note, I know I said the last thing was the linebackers. KJ Britt and Willie Gay Jr. got in a fight today, and I love it. I can't love training camp fights more. I can't stand the boomers that don't like training camp fights, who say, hey, we want to keep it classy. We're playing football. We're not fighting. You know what? I love the tenacity. I love the fireness. If you don't want to run through an MFer's face because you don't like them, then I don't want you on my football team. And Willie Gay Jr., KJ Brett, they bring the juice. They bring the fire. They bring the tenacity every single day, and I can't get enough of it. So I love those 2 as our backup linebackers, and one of them might end up being the starter next to Jordan Brooks. All right, that will really do it for today's show. Like I said, you want more updates on the Dolphins, my Twitter is the best place to find it. We're going to continue to bring you content every day, but in between our videos, we got updates and posts over there. So go give me a follow right now at Nic_Rohloff.